Taba Zobesa, Ribada Shason Demba Devaresha, Jidin Jemba Jibun Deva Kanon Lana, Hana Menanje Demba Sanje Jumden Beju, Shaja Kubala Satan or Jado Yasu, Demba Jumden Dishin Shaman, Rajum Bayada, Zobe Sanje, Ribada Shason Demba Devaresha, Jidin Jemba Jibun Deva Kanon Lana. Hada Menanje Demba Sanje Jumden Beju, Shaja Tubala Satin or Judo Yasu. Demba Jumden Dishin Shaman, Rajumba Yanda Zobe Sanje Ribada. Shazon Demba Devaresha Jidin Jemba Jibun Deva Kalon Lana. Hada Menanje Demba Sanje Jumden Beja or Shaja Duba. Chazelo Judo Yasu, Kaze Ganyan Zoba. Sergeant and no command them, money, Jitten, and no churches. The Zekiabajon, Cha, Zelon, Namda, Gumajon. Isija, Sija, Rumboda, Chavan Jitten, some Gombojon, John, Cha, Zelon, Zenjon, them, Jimeta. Sendon, the Wajon, Cha, Zelon, the Jaja, the Siva Sumas. Yame, changing John, Cha, Gombo to Jachet, but some Jachet. Sonomy and Lenya, Zosian, the Shenshel, Cha. Aben de Jacho, giving us on the Jedo, Tenamacho, Shinjuricho, Trinajara, Lonya, the Labata, Rabin, Shinget, Gideon Cha, Zelon, the Bachim, Rangi Senayozo, the Dennis, and Yetambanya, Gamara, Melon Lord and Gender one decision, the Derada, Sonam, the Jesu. Quantum Nijin Datu and God and not a Shiva Lodge. Siva Son to one Jevarisho.
To the teacher of the Blessed One, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the Blessed One, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher, the Blessed One, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the Blessed One, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the teacher of the Blessed One, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the Blessed One, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O Supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who arise, then I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Teacher having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime, pure reality, to that thou much pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community attending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions, perform only perfect virtuous actions, subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud, see conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the four faults, and be delivered from the ocean of suffering, of aging, sickness, and death. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections. May I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections. May I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving and the other perfections, may I quickly attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings.
I think we are on the page 384. Maybe very last end of the 383, or blessed ones. Asanga's summary of the great vehicles. So, let me read this. O blessed one. So in the sutra nowadays, O blessed one is the image that is the object of concentrations different from the mind or not. The blessed one replied, the Maitreya, it is not different. Why is it not different? Because the consciousness is defined purely in terms of cognition of its object. So I have stated. So this was saying that, through the concentrations, visualizing, or through concentration, having the vision of the deity, that form of the deity is the reflections of your concentrations. So now the question is that deity, the form of this deity, is it different from your concentration mind, right? Or it is just mere aspect, that property of the consciousness itself. And the Buddha says, yes, this is no different from the concentration of the consciousness. So, because number of shevas means, consciousness perceiving something, perceiving and at the same time, projects the image. So therefore, the image is no different from the consciousness itself. So for example, if you say, I'm visualizing my car, so visualizing my car, image of that car is it different from your consciousness, or it is the part of the consciousness? We say it is part of the consciousness. So so these traditions of the Chandrakirtis interpret all four types of sutra, the passages mentioned above as a provisional, all four types of. So what are the four types of in the Langas, not Langas, the sutra, the unraveling thought, mentioning about three characteristics: imputational factors, other powered nature, and the thoroughly established natures. Three factors. And then continues this in the sutra, the unraveling thought, saying that imputational factors, the one that is not intrinsic, not truly exist, and other power natures and thoroughly established nature, which is the emptiness, is truly exist. So that is the one of the passage, And the second is, in that sutra, mentioning that the foundation of the consciousness is the seventh consciousness. Eye consciousness, air consciousness, no consciousness, time, the five sensory perception and mental consciousness, six, and the seventh is the foundation of consciousness. So the foundation consciousness mentioned in that sutra, that is the second, and the third is rejecting the external reality. So external reality. The fourth is saying that there's the final goal, ultimate final goal is three. And true arhat, the hero arhat, and then solitary arhat, and then enlightened Buddhahood. Three. So then that sutras saying this is the ultimate final goal, which implying that that according to the mind-only school, saying human beings, sentient beings, the nature of their, I think we say, maybe it's right to say nature of the mind. Three types of mind. Every sentient being's mind, divided into three natures. One, that anything that you want to know, you understand, you reveal, and someone has to tell you. You follow something, someone information, then you gain knowledge. And another nature of the mind is you always want to figure it by yourself. You have a sense of pride and you have a sense of intelligence. This nature is always finally they achieve the what are called solitary arhat. Solitary arhat. One, the nature of the mind that is, you care other more than yourself. So that kind of natures. Now this nature is, according to the mind-only school, is fixed. So this the individual who has the nature of the mind is like the Harrier type of mind, So this individual, how much they try to follow the Maya path, and eventually they fall back in their own path. They will achieve their final, the arhat. So, so this was saying that because the very, very foundation of that idea is because the mind is, intrinsic, it is truly exists. The nature of the mind and habit of the mind is all, intrinsically exist. There's nothing you can change. So therefore, in this sutra, it says, the ultimate final goal is 3. So Nagarjuna's and the Shantidevas, they're saying, ultimate final goal is just one, Buddhahood. Even this true arhat is going to eventually attain the Buddhahood. So the final is just one. So all 4 types of sutra passages mentioned above as in this Chandrakirti tradition is provisional. It is not definitive. So there is in the, I think Sutra Unrolling Thought, there's one line the Buddha is saying that, so this type of the Hinayana mentalities, so this arhat, they says, even they try for years to attain the Buddhahood. So what they do is they hide their body in a safe place, and then they send the emanations. The emanations that follows the Maya path, study and practicing, right? And all the Buddhas and bodhisattvas, they try to help him, and they eventually they give up, this person. So how many years he tried, he always falls back in his nature, And then because of this minority school, one of the minority schools, there's 2 kind of, the follower of the reasoning, and a follower of faith. The follower of faith, they says, there's another 3rd mentalities, nature of the mind, which is devoid of Buddha nature. So one mind, there is no Buddha natures. They cannot attain liberation. They cannot attain Buddhahood. So this is what they say. So it's like tomato-like sentient beings. Or cabbage-like sentient beings. So this is minority school thing, because they, fundamentally they think the mind is something that their habit, the nature is something fixed. So the 4 types sutra passage mentioned above as provisional, it does not differentiate among them as some do. So interpreting some as a provisional and accepting others as a definitive. As for the teaching about here being 3 ultimate vehicles. So ultimate, I think, 3 ultimate vehicles. So vehicle means is the cause which is going towards the final goal. Then there's the 3 types. One, the hero, following the hero arhat. One, solitary arhat. One, the bodhisattvas. 3 ultimate vehicles, given that Nagarjuna himself established the finality of only one vehicle in his compendium of sutra. So thinking that this can be understood from there, so which means Chandrakirti and Nagarjunas, they believe the ultimate vehicle is just one, only the Mahayana path. Chandrakirti did not address it here in his commentary with respect to the remaining three types of sutra passage. So the three ultimate vehicles not mentioned in this his commentaries. Passage that establish mind only to the possessing intrinsic existence and deny the external reality. The following passage from Descendant into Lanka Sutra is a scriptural source revealing them to be provisional in meaning. So according to the Lanka Sutra, that sutra unraveling thought mentioning about, differentiating three characteristics and rejecting, refuting external realities and foundational consciousness. So these are all, you can understand the provisional, it's not definitive. So then it says, just as to a patient suffering from illness, then why Buddha, so Buddha's descendant into Lanka Sutra, Buddha mentioned there is only one final ultimate goal, which is the Buddhahood. And Buddha says there is no differentiating in the three characteristics that, one of the characteristics, the imputation, not intrinsically exists. The other two characters, the other power natures and thoroughly established natures are intrinsically existing. So this is all phenomena are absent of intrinsic existence. In the Heart Sutra, even the five aggregates are absent of intrinsic existence. So then both are taught by the Buddha. So how do you really know that, Sutra, the unraveling thought, mentioning about it, ultimate three vehicles and rejecting external realities is provisional. So Buddha says in this sutras, just as to patient suffering from illness, the physicians administers the medicine. Likewise, so which means when the doctor gives the medicines, is not according to himself, according to the patients. Likewise, for the sake of sentient beings, the Buddha taught mind only. So that's why he said, even, refuting external reality is taught by the Buddha, but still it just is provisional. It is not the final meaning. So medicine cannot be administered to the patients, specifically patients, according to the personal inclinations of the physicians. It must be conformed to the nature of the illness of the patients. In the same way, it is explained the Buddha teaching on the mind only is also not given in accordance with the Buddha's own personal viewpoint. It is given in accordance with mental dispositions of this spiritual trainees. Just for the mind only, people. In this way, we recognize the former scriptures, the statements about mind only is to be provisional. So this is how we understand, Sutra unraveling thoughts, is the provisional. The following the passage, just as to patients suffering from illness, cited in the commentaries, Chandrakirti writes, likewise the blessed ones stated in the sutra and cited extensively from the descent into Langa Sutras up to how then can one attain full awakening. So in this, I think Lama Tsongkhapa is, saying that in Langa Sutras there's a whole line in this saying that this passage are the scriptural sources that indicates how the foundation consciousness, which is Chitramata holds to be definitive, is in fact provisional. In his explanations to the commentaries, Jahananda says that phrase like likewise has the following meaning, just as the Buddha's statement about the permanent enduring essence is provisional. I think this was in the Langa Sutras. Likewise, the Buddha's teaching of the mind only is shown to be provisional. So it is distorted explanations. Now I think there's a little bit difference. How do you interpret, how do you define this is provisional and this is the definitive? And one master says, Langa Sutras, there's a particular line that's saying that the Buddha nature, particularly the Buddha is talking about the Buddha nature of the sentient beings, So this is enduring, permanent, and the pure, possessing all the marks of the Buddha, which means it is the Buddha in every sentient being, like the gold or the diamond that wrapped with red, So contaminated body, inside there is the Buddha natures, So now this also in that particular sutra also says, you cannot take this literally. Maybe at the time when the Buddha was this kind of, telling this kind of essence, for some of the audience, they have, from long, many years, they heard the Bhagavan in every sentient beings. So he was using that kind of things. So in this way, the Buddha natures in every sentient beings. And then at the end, the Buddha says, you don't take this as a literally. Now, this teaching, this line is the very sutra saying you cannot take this literally, and the provisional that says rejecting the external realities, and the one master says they are sin. And Lama Tsongkhapa says that is, this is not really good interpretations. So rejecting external reality, stating there's the final ultimate three vehicles, these are, the intended meaning in that sutra. So, the Buddha in sentient being, Buddha in contaminated the aggregates, is not the intended meaning. So what is the intended meaning in that when Buddha says, like the Bhagavan, you believe that you have heard so many times the Bhagavan in every sentient being. In this way, Buddha is in every sentient beings. That the intended meaning is the Buddha natures, the emptiness of the mind, the ultimate nature of the mind. So you cannot mix together saying these are same provisional.
Because the intended meaning is different, so you should not.
Yeah, Rejecting external reality is intended meaning in the Sutra, the Unraveling Thought. And the actual Buddha in the permanent natures is in every sentient being, is not intended meaning. No. So this is why Lama Tsongkhapa says, this is the distorted explanations. For the commentary itself makes it clear that meaning must be understood in terms of how the teaching of the mind only is provisional. So it is the intended meaning, the kind of rejecting externally intended meaning of the Sutra Unraveling Thought. But, and this is for the mind only school, definitive. For the Prasangika school, it's provisional. So just as the Lanka Sutras line, just as to patients suffering from illness, explain the teaching of the mind only to be provisional, in the same manner, that statement about the provisionality of the teaching of the permanent enduring essence proves that the teaching of the foundation consciousness is unraveling, unraveling the intent sutra is not literal. For this, however, one must first recognize the teaching of the eternal, the immutable, right? Essence is not literal. Here, the decent Lanka Sutras. So this is why saying that, I think we always, maybe you have heard from many lamas that some, when they give empowerment, they think they kind of let you visualize the real Buddha in you, right? So now this is a kind of, its actual intended meaning is you have the nature, the potential to be Buddha. Based on that, now you're visualizing the real Buddha in you, and you are inseparable with that. So the which one is literal means the potential of the Buddha is literal. You being Buddha is not literal. So, but if this is not literal, and what is the benefit from visualizing oneself, inseparable from the Buddha in you? And then says it's just to generate a positive thought, The sutra that is taught purely in, conformity, right? Conformity with mental dispositions of the sentient being is erroneous with respect to its content. It's not discourse on suchness. For example, not being water, a mirage, deceive those animals that takes it for water. In the same manner, the teaching thus taught, like, pure real Buddha in you, will please only the childish. It is not the discourse that will delight it, the nuisance of the Arya, not the Arya wisdom. You should therefore follow after the truth, not the attached to the word. You cannot, take this as it literally stated. Yeah, sometimes some Rinpoches say, we all Buddha. You are Buddha, I am Buddha, so we all Buddha. So, and then sometimes say, in Hindi, the Buddha is the stupid. the Buddha is. So, one of us is Buddha.
So is this excerpt saying that it is from the same Descent into Lanka Sutra where they're saying that there is no external? So
no external is the Sutra of Unraveling Thought.
Oh, okay. Oh, so
third turning wheel of the Dharma.
Two separate sutras that are saying, okay.
Third turning wheel of the Dharma is talking about, differentiating in the three characteristics: imputational factor, other power natures, and emptiness.
Okay.
And this is only the imputational factor is not intrinsic.
Mm-hmm.
Rest two are intrinsically exist. So the third turning wheel of the Dharma, Sutra of Unraveling Thought. And also in that mentioned that no external realities. And also mentioned that there is ultimately three vehicles. So these are now saying this is the provisional. Provisional. And then how do you know? Oh, in the Langa Sutra, this says, I have mentioned this mind-only school for the individual purpose, for the mind-only school, like the doctor gives the medicine according to the patients. Mm-hmm. So from there we understand, unraveling thought, the 13 will of the Dharma is mentioned, everything is provisional. Because Buddha himself said that this is I taught them like doctors giving the medicine according to the patient. So now you should understand that, the three characteristics, differentiating the three characteristics, imputations not intrinsically exist, other power natures and thoroughly established natures are intrinsically exist, truly exist, is still, according to the Nagarjuna, Chandrakirti is provisional. According to the sutra itself, it is the definitive, because it is intended meaning. Now in the Langa Sutras, there is one line saying that every sentient being possesses the real Buddha, in them, which has, 32, 32 marks of the Buddha, and it's a permanence, immutable, not changing. Now, this within that sutra, Buddha says, now you should not take this as a literal. No, I'm just comparing to what you have heard and traditional what says every sentient being is Bhagavan. So in this way, I am, kind of using that, So then we say, and then what is the intended meaning, real meaning of that? The real meaning is the potential to be Buddha. So, yeah. So, follow after the truth, not to be attached to the word. And the same sutras that raise the following questions. So Mahamati, Lodishimos, Mahamati. Sometimes in Hindi local language, Mati is the brain. Yeah, Mati is Mahamati is the great brain, is your intelligence. Mahamati. Maybe like elephant brain. In the sutra, you spoke of Tathagata's essence that is naturally, luminous, primordially pure, and endowed with the 32 exemplaries marks of an Arya existing within the body of all sentient beings. You say that like a precious jewel wrapped in a dirty rag. It is covered by the rag of the aggregates. The rag of the aggregates, the elements, rags the elements, and sense basis, and it has thus become tainted, right? So it's kind of a Buddha which is defected, So if you speak of such essence that is eternal, enduring, and immutable, and how is this any difference? It is any different from the Titikas, the proposed self. So if you take this literally, and this is exactly the same from the non-Buddhist school, talking about the Atma. So a non-Buddhist school also says that Atma is pure, permanent, and unity. In responding to this, the Buddha pointed out that since such teaching is not literal, not literal, it is not at all similar to the Titika's self, the explained that purported, what was actually intended when such was taught is the selflessness of the phenomena in terms of emptiness. Now this line is, if you should not be taking it literally. If you take it literally, then it is same as Atma. And if you understand the meaning of that, and then what I meant is the emptiness of the consciousness. In terms of emptiness, selflessness. And then says, in the emptiness, selflessness, and wishlessness. Remember, wishlessness. The wishlessness is, usually we say, like for example, emptiness of the sprout. It says the emptiness of the nature of the sprout. And emptiness, the sprout not intrinsically arise from the seed, is emptiness of the signlessness. And sprout do not produce its effect intrinsically, is emptiness of wishlessness. So for example, emptiness of myself is the emptiness of the nature, object. And as I do not come from my past life intrinsically, is emptiness of the signlessness. And I do not go to next life intrinsically, is emptiness of wishlessness.
So signlessness is pointing to almost like you being, or there being a sign of something previous.
Yeah.
Because of this, that means there was this. And wishlessness is, there is no going to the future intrinsically. Yeah. There is no.
So sometimes you see the religious people, who believes in many lives. So sometimes they blame themselves, when they face the difficulties. What I have done in my past life. So there's a sign, because of that makes me, not successful, not happy. I have done something bad in my past life. It's the sign they see that. And then they pray, may I have, born as a human being and healthy and wealthy as a wishlessness, wishing. Because the sign and wishing in the future is all there intrinsically. And yourself also see intrinsically existing. So when you come to understand the emptiness of yourself, you also see signlessness, and also you see the wishlessness. There's not much to attach in the futures. There's nothing to blame to yourself or the cause of yourself. Yeah, I think even in the within the day we have this kind of wishing, and then we also see the sign. What I've done yesterday, what I have, what I have done, or what I ate this morning, and what I'm going to do, in the afternoons. So there's always, you see, there's a kind of something to wish, something to blame, and something to take pride, So the purpose for the teaching, the existing of such eternal, purpose of the teaching of such eternal, enduring, immutable essence is to help gradually lead the falling class of the people to suchness. Now, this is very skillfully Buddha's teaching. Maybe there are many great, like Mahamati, with very intelligent people, and some are not really intelligent. They want to know what Buddha is teaching, but their mind is so much influenced from their traditional, point of views, traditional the informations. They keep talking about, every sentient beings, even the rock, the trees, all the Bhagavan, So, and including those, Buddha and the Buddha, So Buddha wants them to understand the ultimate nature. So gradually lead to falling class of the people to suchness, to emptiness. The childish who shun selflessness out of fear. Maybe there are some, they think the emptiness is too profound. Emptiness maybe is not for us, And some says, emptiness means nihilism, So they're kind of, childish who shun the selflessness out of fear. The Tithikas who are attached to the proposition of the self. So someone who has a background, believing in Atmas, but they also kind of tend to attach to the permanent I. And number three, those who were habituated to such view in the past. So the Sutra state present the future bodhisattvas must not cling. Present and the future bodhisattva must not cling to it as a self. Now Buddha is saying that present or the future bodhisattvas, one must not cling to as permanent self. Since to espouse, right, such a view literally would be no different from clinging to the Tithika self. So if you, innately, grasping a self, or philosophically or religiously attached to the self, and both are grasping a self. One is more artificial, one is innate. So yeah, the intended meaning of sutra is not to grasp as literal meaning. The explicit objections against the literal reading of the sutra is this: to espouse it literally would be no different from espousing the physical self, Atma. As I have already explained this point extensively elsewhere, I will not elaborate further here. So now it's the same thing, Again, in the sutra state, Mahamati, this truth contained within the scripture of all the Buddhas has the characters of the emptiness, non-arising, non-duality, and absence of intrinsic existence. So again, in that sutra, Buddha saying that what I meant, endurance, immutables, true essence, I'm exactly referring to emptiness, non-arisings, non-dualities, the absence of intrinsic existence. After citing this, Chandrakirti says, having therefore the clearly elucidate on the basis of these scriptures how all such similar sutras accepted as a definitive by Chittamatra are in fact provisional in their meaning. So having understands the Lanka Sutras, the meaning, then you can understand the everything in the Sutra, the unraveling thought, that minority school believe or accept literally or definitive are in fact are provisional. Such similar sutras does not refer to the true passage of the descent into Lanka Sutra that have been just cited. Both of those segments are not accepted by the Chitramatras as definitive. So this kind of, and Lanka Sutras, this passage, and there's another one that's just as the patient suffering from illness, physician administers the medicines, like for the sake of sentient beings, the Buddha taught mind only. So mind only school, they don't like this. It's like, when we, in the Buddhist and the Tibetan, it's normal to us when we talk about Hinayana and Mahayana. So if you use this term, Hinayana, in the Thailand monks, so they get pissed off. So, you have to be careful, So, so this kind of line, it is in Lanka Sutra, so the minority school says it's not definitive, Maybe this is their, official, official statement. So accepted Pachidam as definitive. Furthermore, the commentary already explicitly explained these similar sutra to be passage from the unraveling the intent sutra as to what is being referred to on the basis of these scriptures. Jayana's explanations identifies it, the sections in the 10 ground sutras pertaining to the contemplation of the dependent originations negate an agent other than the mind. So 3 realms is just a mind, mind only. So this The mind-only school said that is the definitive. Three realms is mind only. So, it is unlike the Chandrakirti way of, the interpreting the sutras. And Chandrakirti says, three realms is mind only means there is no creator. Three realms not created by one Bhagavan or the God. It's created by the mind, therefore three realms. In mind-only school, read this, three realms is just mind only means, there is no external realities. Everything is mind projects. Contemplating or divine or negating agents other than the mind, this is totally incorrect. The rejection of such agent is presented as the reason explaining how the term only in the statement mind only in the 10th Ground Sutra does not negate. So the Prasangika school does not negate external reality. It is not the reason explaining that negation of external reality is provisional. So 10 Ground Sutras, when it says three realms is mind only, and the Prasangika school says that is literally, it is not provisional. This means, it does not mean rejects the external reality, which means three realms, human realm, that desire realm, formless realms, is, because of the combination of mind and material and consciousness. And then the primary cause is the mind only. So the mind only school says, this is Buddha literally says mind only. Therefore, there's no external realities. So Lama Tsongkhapa in Chandrakirti says, this 10 Ground Sutras, three ram is mind only. You should not say this is the provisional. Thus, three scriptures, the citations are indicated in the root text in the line. They too are indicated by these scriptures to be provisional. Of these four-line passage, Langa Sutras, just as to patient suffering from illness, and so on, demonstrate the provisional nature of the mind only, with its rejection of external reality. The scripture that reveals the provisionality of the permanent enduring essence is the one that demonstrates the provisional nature of foundation consciousness. So, Chidan never lost. Just as the patient suffering, from this, defines the sutra unraveling thought. Many of the sutra they're talking about the mind-only school are provisional. Even the foundation of consciousness, provisionals. So, the descending Arya Sutras, the various realms are the foundation of consciousness. The excellence, Tathagata's essence, is this as well. Now, this is saying the foundation consciousness, the mention that in the Langa Sutras, is not the same meaning, the mind-only school, the foundation consciousness. So, foundation consciousness, the mentioned Langa Sutra, is actually talking about the nature of the mind, ultimate nature of the mind. So, it's Tathagata's essence is as well. Tathagata indicates this essence. And the Tantrayana, they use Tathagata Garbha, so Buddha nations, Tathagata Garbha. With the words, the foundation consciousness, that this essence is expressed, the foundation consciousness, this how's that? This the feeble-minded does not even know that. So mind-only school, they don't understand this. The foundational consciousness is referring to the emptiness. So in the descent into Langa Sutras 2, we read Tathagata's essence, which is expressed as the foundational consciousness, together with the seventh class of consciousness. Thus, these two are said on numerous occasions to be synonymous. Seventh consciousness of the foundational consciousness as a synonymous. So, it's kind of for the mind-only school, the seventh consciousness and the foundational consciousness same. In Langa Sutra, the foundation consciousness, and also in Tantrayana many times they mention about foundations there, which have used. It's almost like what is the fundamental potential, fundamental base of the foundation to think every sentient being can attain enlightenment. So that is the nature, the ultimate nature of the consciousness. So thus these two are said on numerous occasions to be synonymous. This said, given that one is characterized as a permanent and the others is impermanent. So in the first level, the Langa Sutras mention the foundational consciousness is mentioning as a permanent and immutable and the essence, right? And the Sutra Unraveling taught the foundational consciousness impermanent, which carries all the seed of the consciousness. So it cannot be literally a sense of the two terms that being shown to be, equivalent. Nevertheless, since the foundational consciousness was taught on the basis of exactly the same intended purport, right? Underlying the teaching of essence. So from the perspective of their intended meaning, the two are synonymous. So share the same reference. Therefore, by demonstrating the first passage here to be provisional, the latter two is established provisional. So Langa Sutra is the foundation, is referring to the emptiness of the mind. And Langa Sutra is also mentioning the essence of the all Tathagatas, immutable and permanent and possessing in every sentient being's mind is also the same meaning. So now it says, literally is you see the two different things. One is the, so that's the, because it lead being to enter the nature of all entities, we should understand that the word foundation consciousness refers to the emptiness alone. In the Tantrayana, in many occasions you see they use the term, the foundations. Now they say, what is the foundations? What does that mean in Tantrayana? This is the foundation of the possibility of samsara and nirvana, is emptiness. Because the things are absent of intrinsic existence, they're conventionally with, says like with afflicted emotions the karma, and there's the samsara. With cessation of the afflictive emotions, pacification of mental construct, and you see the nirvana. So both are possible within the emptiness of the mind. So this is why, and Tantra Yanami just says foundation. And the Prajaparamita Sutras, then this foundation consciousness. The foundation consciousness means is the emptiness of the mind. So thus it, thus it is by conveying the well with scripture citations, how the teaching of the permanent enduring essence, provisional, that we comprehend what that same scripture, the citations from the Langa Sutra, reveals the foundation consciousness to be provisional too. So immediately following the passage, Mahamadi, this truth that contains within the scriptures of all the Buddhas, the characters of the emptiness, it reads that same sutra. So whatever sutra it may be, comprehends this meaning alone to be contained in it. So this is the scriptural citation that demonstrate the provisional nature of the teaching that differentiate between the first two nature with respect to their existence or non-existing by virtue of intrinsic characters. So the point is for the mind-only school, so as the doctor give the medicine according to the patient's the illness. So the Buddha taught in the third tenet word of the Dharma, saying those bodhisattvas who are not yet capable of understanding the most settled emptiness, and for those Buddha says everything is mind only, there is no external realities, and then says everything is the mind. Mind is the truly exist. So particularly the foundation consciousness, which keeps all the seed, of the virtues and non-virtues. So, and from there's a three realms happen. From the potential that reflects in your mind, and you may, see the desire realm, the form realm, formless realms. The world is nothing but the mind, and then the mind is the truly exists, intrinsically exists. Now, mental projections like imputational factors, imaginations, these are not truly exist. Because the mind is truly exists, therefore, emptiness, the ultimate nature of the mind, also truly exists. So for the mind-only school, yes, these are the literal, it's not provisional, definitive. Now, Buddha says, why Buddha taught the mind only to this kind of bodhisattvas? Buddha says, because they are not yet suitable to understand the most subtle emptiness, but, with understanding of imputational factors not truly existing, intrinsically existence, and when they kind of develop this kind of wisdom, and some bodhisattvas, the mind-only school, will by themselves, they can reveal, they can, apply the same reason to the consciousness and emptiness. And some bodhisattvas may hurt from others' point of view, and they also gradually, improve, and they understand Prasanga school point of views. So this is the kind of the foundations, given by the Buddha. And then the question is, if this is the Buddha's skillful means, the way of he is skillful, to teach the mind-only school, and then says, what is the point when your Buddha says that, every sentient beings has the real Buddha, which essence of all Tathagatas, and it is a permanent, immutable, and it possesses 32 marks of the Buddha, that existing in every sentient being. This, if you take this literally, this is exactly like a permanent I. And what purpose the Buddha has, what is the purpose of this kind of teaching, this kind of, the mentioning this. And the Buddha says, so people already have this kind of information, and non-Buddhist schools, some of the non-Buddhist schools thinks that, everything's happening. The air moves, fire burns, the water moisturizes, the earth solidifies. Without the Bhagavan, there is no earth solidifying, there's no water moisturizing, there's the wind moving, and the plants to grow because of the Bhagavan. And there's everything is the Bhagavan is in every phenomena, every object. So they have heard so many times. So Buddha used that kind of image, saying every sentient being has the potential to become that, to become that. So therefore Buddha says, the intent, my intent meaning is the potential of the Buddha in every sentient beings. But if I say it, they feel comfortable. Yeah, any questions? Okay, now the 388, showing through the reason how such statement is provisional, to elucidate through the reasoning how the statement about mind only is provisional. The text says, once cognizable objects are shown to be no more, then negation of the cognition is easily obtained. That says, once you are taught that there is no external reality, everything is reflects from the mind. Maybe this may kind of bring some kind of interest to analyze, examining an external reality. Even in the Prasangika school, they accept conventionally the external reality, but they don't really accept external has kind of any intrinsic property. So if they, through this rejecting the external reality, they may examine an external reality, they may come to understand that even the form, sound, smell, taste, textures are not intrinsic. So this notion will, gradually they can
apply to the consciousness, and then easily you can understand the consciousness too is not intrinsically existence. So negation of consciousness easily obtained. The Buddha said, thus, if there is no object, the cognition's easily negated as a consequence. If you understand the objects of the sensual perceptions are not intrinsically existing, and you can easily understand the sensual perceptions are not intrinsically exist. So the Buddha first negated the object of cognitions for people who could not really, yet understand the emptiness of the Prasanga school point of view. But for them, saying, well, external reality is not there. So then they kind of analyzed again and again, which means they not intrinsically exist. So in this way, the consciousness too is not intrinsically exist. So I think, remember that in the Nagarjuna's 70 stanzas, so they use that, the color, smell, taste, textures, has no intrinsic property. And even the color do not exist single unit by itself. Identity or distinctive identity of the color is not by the color itself, is rather is from the subjectively. So then, the same thing you will understand, there's color never exists by itself as a distinctive entity, and then you can say, and also the eye consciousness, the perceiving the color, is not really intrinsic. Eye consciousness sees the color is conditioned by eye sense power and the color. So eye consciousness do not perceive or apprehend the, distinctive identity of the color. It is impossible. So you can both, once you understand the color is not intrinsic, you can also understand the consciousness not intrinsic. So now she said, a skillful means to help lead them to the truth of suchness. So the teaching of mind-only school is also a part of Buddha's skillful means to help this kind of, with these mental dispositions, in order to understand the most subtle dependent originations, they have to go through the mind-only schools, the emptiness. So the Buddha has exposed those with good store of the merit to discourse on the practice of the generosity and like. In the same manner, with respect to those trainees who do not have the capacity to realize the full meaning of profound truth, right from the start. So from the beginning, some people have difficult to understand. So the Buddha lead them towards the realizations, no intrinsic existence, gradually to such trainees, once cognizable objects, external realities, are first shown to be no more, then negation of the intrinsically existing cognition is easily obtained. So the Buddha have said, this being so, the absence of the cognizable, in other words, the negation of external reality from the outset, is meant to help induce full realization of the selflessness. So the Buddha first taught the negation of external object of cognition alone. For if there is no object, that is, if the selflessness of external reality has been understood, the cognitions is easily negated as a consequences. So that is to say, the selflessness of consciousness will be easily established. Among those who have awareness of no intrinsic existence of the external reality, some will realize no intrinsic existing of cognition on their own, while others will realize this on the basis of the brief explanations by others, some their own, some explanations by others, another, that the statement about the non-existing of the external reality and the intrinsic existing of cognition are provisional is clearly stated in the commentary on the awakening mind as well. So I think this is said now. There's another word, sutras. There's a line in the sutra saying that if you continue to hold, for saying to the minority school, if you continue to hold, because of the minority school philosophical point of view, and if you continue to hold the mind is intrinsically existing, and the emptiness of the mind is intrinsically existence, Buddha mentioned that this is also, holding on that, intrinsic existence of consciousness and emptiness is, taking the medicines and the medicine not digest in the body, so that medicine is not going to heal the illness, rather it may cause another problems. So this is also Buddha said, and now say my teaching of the minority school is skillful means your understanding of minority school is undigestible medicine. Yeah, if you go to the Mahabodhi temple, the Buddha guy, you may ask. So everything you said is skillful means, if you understand the minority school and keep holding on that, and you says, this, medicine that you take is not really digest, and not only that, it causes the fever, a cold, Maybe people who really, understand the minority school, the point of views, rejections of the external realities. First, they says it's just a reflection of the mind that appears in the form, sound, smell, taste, textures. Now, Buddha, the intentions of the Buddha's teaching is, Buddha is not saying that because this is what I said, now no matter whatever the reason, you have to believe, you cannot live it. Buddha never said that. Buddha says, this is how, external reality means. External reality means independent from the consciousness. There is no independent form. There is no form that independent from the eye consciousness. There is no sound independent from the ear consciousness. So therefore, the form, sound, smells are reflects from the mind, into different forms. So now they have to, like minority school follower of the reasoning, they analyze that particles and atoms. They says, what if there is external realities? If there is external reality, for example, the color, it externally exists, which means color must exist from the particles. And one small particles, minute particles, is the cause it is the how's that, the fractions of, for the form that you see is part of that. Many things together and become the color. So then it says, and the minute particle, one single minute particles, how this comes from. And the Minority School says, which means there must be minute partless particles. You have to, If there is minute partless particle means is the particle which has no directions. So the Minority School says, particle which has no directions means there is no, right, how's that? There's no back and front, there's no right and left. So in any of those particles, how many particles do you just gather? Still directionless. As things that have no direction, it cannot be formed. Anything, something in the visual form. So then Minority School says, if there is external, then finally you have to accept minute partless particle. That is not possible. So minute partless particle cannot, build up particle of form with parts, form with directions. The form with directions, must be, collective, must be, collect from particle which has directions. So this is how Minority School analyze. And then they kind of understand that, no external reality means the color do not exist intrinsically. And then that understandings, they can easily understand, or even the consciousness not truly exist. So, like Minority School who believes in the consciousness and emptiness truly existing as the undigestible medicine is Minority School who just follow, like believing, and they do not analyze. So then it is the problem. Like having faith in Buddha has the benefit, but because you have faith in Buddha, and then you says everyone should follow the Buddha. If not, these are, and you are my enemy. Mm-hmm. So then, the faith is causing, leading towards the negative actions.
I thought there was some kind of a path of teaching for people who has really developed faith. They don't have a reasoning, but they really devotion to the eventually get understanding.
Yeah. It's a devotion is pure, uncontaminated, the pure devotions. And more you have devotions, it's not intellectual, you are not intellectual, but your devotion towards Buddha is very uncontaminated. So then, because of that blessing, so you, eventually generate the wisdom, intelligence. That is always possible. From the beginning, you have a devotion, you have faith in Buddha. It's not pure, it is not strong enough, and you have, deluded intellect. So associating with the weak devotion, weak faith, and then it's a problem.
Is there a practice of strengthening this kind of devotion to?
I think this is when I see that some of the people, this they start with devotions. These people, they have heard so many, they have enough informations, and most of those people I saw, they kind of raised in a very good family, and very compassion, very moral, and when these, grow up and hear so many positive informations, they always stay with very pure, and that kind of person is developing some kind of faith in the Buddha. So, it's they are very, very protected with positive energy, the positive informations. So eventually they become very intelligent. I think, you have to, understand generally the understanding Buddha is, like Dharmakirti says, he is the result. One who become the valid beings is the result of perfection of the compassion and the wisdom. So if you are the result of the perfections of the compassion and the wisdom, and then therefore you kind of, therefore you, you are fascinated by the qualities of the Buddha, and your devotion to the Buddha is more pure and uncontaminated. And if you have the faith in the Buddha is because of, for example, I'm Indian, Shakyamuni is the Indian people. So, and he is famous. Therefore, I have faith. So, which means your faith like more like mirage,
So, for example, appreciating Tada's qualities of generosity or activity.
It's some kind of like, like if you, pull the big ship in the oceans, if you have you have to have a strong anchor. So your kind of, your object of faith is very much, how's that? What do you call it? You have strong anchor in the Buddha.
It makes me not superficial.
It's not superficial.
Right.
It's not superficial.
Right.
You have very, you have no intellectually, no wisdom, kind of very intelligent to understand the quality, but you understand the Buddha is the result. It is one who become that person through the perfecting compassion and wisdom. Other than that, there's nothing. So then, in this way, you see the Buddha is uncontaminated. So if you don't have understanding the qualities of the Buddha, and then just simply, he's the prince, and he's, what I call, in the Buddha's biography, he has strength like an elephant. Even the one, has the joint of the finger as the 70 elephants strength. And then you just imagine he's strong and powerful, look good. So therefore I have faith. So then probably people can shift your faith to honor Schwarzenegger. so I have faith to honor Schwarzenegger too. So the Dharmakirti's means of Buddha, to rely on, to put faith on is, Dharmakirti says, because he has perfect compassion and wisdom. So therefore, he is infallible, infallible, how's that, the valid being. So the way he protects, so sentient beings is the real. He can protect the sentient beings from lower rounds, from samsara, and he can lead every sentient being to the Buddhahood. So he is the valid being. He is the protector. Because he has perfected the wisdom and compassion, and he is the perfect teacher. So he's the teachers, he's infallible protectors. I know some of the, many years, 1981. I know the Hindu, kind of, you can say he's the Hindu, the sadhu, but it's very pure. So from the beginning, they don't have much, right, intellectual kind of the knowledge. They have is just pure faith, so uncontaminated. So it continuously this kind of journey through this devotion, so pure and uncontaminated, and they become very, very, intelligent and the wise. When I was 14, 15, I go to the Tsongkhapa, like the Guru Misha's place. Sometimes I visit the sadhus or in the cave. Just by looking at their presence, a lot of blessing. My sisters, my uncle, and they said, "Oh, don't go there. He's non-Buddhist." I wanted to go in. So they may see even Chandrakirti's, maybe if they met in the market at somewhere place, they say, "Oh, this is Sadhu Baba." And Teloba is also like, it's just always, Teloba, once he was the great scholar in Nalanda, but then later in his life, he always, plays the role like beggar, all the time. Yeah.
Chanju Simjo Rinpoche, Ma Jebana Jeju, Jebanyamba, Mevanya, Kone Kondo, Pewajo, Ponye Tawa Rinpoche, Ma Jebana Jeju, Jebanyamba, Mevanya, Kone Kondo, Pewajo, Pama Simje Tamje, Deda Deju, Nero Tamje Tato, Kondo, Chanju Sima, Kanda Sushu, Tadagonja, Molum Jumjuru, Karera Vuku, Vishimasu, Panda de Woma, Jova, Jeresa, Tinja, Shabeside Badu, Dangerous.
May the precious Bodhi mind not get born, rise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. May the precious mind realizing emptiness not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. Due to all these merits, may all Father and Mother sentient beings have all the happiness. May all lower realms be empty forever. Wherever there are bodhisattvas, may all their prayers be accomplished immediately. In the sacred land surrounded by snow mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. O powerful Chandrakirti Tenzin Gyatso, remain in this world until samsara ends.
Thank you.